Welcome to On Point Breeders' Cup Super Saturday Round 1 edition. James, coast to coast, ended in between at Churchill and Remington, graded stakes with huge Breeders' Cup implications. Plenty of favorites running as well. Really no one race I don't think that we need to zero in on, but as I said, some horses we're all going to be watching. Beholder, Songbird, etc., Rockfall. What are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Well, I'm looking forward to, like you mentioned, Beholder. Anxious to see her run because she's heading into the Classic. And, Santa Anita has both the front runner and Chandelier, and there's a chance the favorites for both the juvenile fillies could be in there. Obviously, Nyquist, I think, will be a solid favorite if he continues to roll in the front runner. And Songbird has just trashed her company the first two starts. Rachel's Valentina could have something to say about favoritism, but she's going to be one of the favorites for sure in the juvenile fillies with another win.
Yeah, no question.
And even at like Belmont, I'm sort of excited to see how Red Rifle, with Flintshire, he ran second to Flintshire, but it was a huge race for him. I thought he ran big race in the Bowling Green. He's one of the top U.S. turf horses. Wedding Toast. She's got to prove herself away from Belmont, but a big win in the Beldame will send her to the distaff in good form, you would think. And even like at Churchill, Tapiture in the ACAC, running second in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he was a little bit off form. He's been freshened by Asmussen, so if he rebounds with a big win, you might look for him to run well at Keeneland.
Yeah, and you mentioned Red Rifle behind Flintshire, and Viva Majorca, who's also in that ACAC, was behind Private Zone and the Big Beast. Two horses who, let's say they were in the ACAC, would be favored even over Tapiture. So I'm kind of interested to see what he does for Ian Wilkes being on the, sort of home court. The Awesome Again is one race without a huge favorite, but it will have Breeders' Cup Classic implications. Horses ran behind Beholder in the Pacific Classic. I'm actually not as sour on the West Coast horses as some have been. There's Honor Code and Tonalist and Liam's Map, and I do think any one of those three could win the Awesome Again without much argument. But I do think there are some good horses out there. They've run decent numbers. It's not like they're slow. They just didn't look good against Beholder. Do you see anyone coming out of that race to make noise in the Classic?
Well, probably not, but I like you said. There's some solid horses, Opportunities, honest horse, might be a little bit below the best handicap horses in the nation, but I sort of look at that race as being a make or break race for Byron. There doesn't appear to be any other speed in the race. He's got to run well, or it's going to be his last career start. And if he does run well in that race, then they have to make a decision. Do they go to the Classic? They could cut it back to the Dirt Mile, with knowing that, hey, he's got no chance against American Pharoah and the such, and it'd be really something to see a Classic winner turn around running a different race.
No, not, but yeah, given what Baffert has and how Byron's run this year, it's certainly not out of the question. Next week we'll be live at Keeneland. Their sort of Fall Stars weekend, Super Saturday Part 2 at Belmont. Jockey Club Gold Cup will have a lot to say on the Classic, although sort of a reverse situation. This week we have Beholder and the Zenyatta going to the Classic. Next week we'll have Honor Code, not in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, but in the, the Ford?
Kelso,
thank you, yeah. So he's going one turn to a mile and a quarter. So a lot of interesting gamesmanship going on, but it'll make for a very interesting Breeders' Cup, no doubt.
Absolutely, and that like you mentioned, that's a big weekend. A couple others, Tonalist in the, maybe you did say Tonalist, but Tonalist needs to run a good race, have any shot in the Classic in my eyes, and Untappable, if she can win the Spinster and get things turned around with Beholder going to the distaff, she would then, look pretty good for the distaff. With Beholder going to the Classic. But, and that race also has lovely Maria, who likes Keeneland by evidence by her easy Ashland win. So it'll be interesting to see if she can bounce back for Larry Jones.
Yeah, and her stablemate Amma Chatterbox finally got her Grade 1 win on the books. Finished under the wire first in a Grade 1. Want to go back to Santa Anita for the last question. Last 3 years we've been out there for the Breeders' Cup. Huge edge to the West Coast horses. and that's held through the years. We saw Mandela win 4 races back in '03 when they had the synthetic. Obviously, that was a separate advantage as well. How are you going to look at the West Coast races now that we're finally back to a track away from California?
Well, I mean, I'm still, I'm going to definitely, as we mentioned before, those juveniles out there look pretty strong at this point in time. So, I mean, those horses have shipped in and run well in New York and Kentucky and other jurisdictions. So, I'm keeping an open mind, but basically the juveniles look best in terms of the Breeders' Cup to me right now.
All right, yeah, and Beholder probably be second or third choice for the Classic out of there. So yeah, plenty to watch this week. Santa Anita, Churchill, Belmont, and next week as well. We'll be live at Keeneland on Saturday. On point before that. Join us then.